Brace yourselves because the underbelly of our food supply system is about to be exposed in a way most people aren't ready to handle. If you think last year's empty shelves were just a fluke, think again. Industry veterans are blowing the whistle on a wave of looming shortages that could blindside even the savviest shopper. Today, we're ripping the veil off 10 crucial grocery products that may vanish faster than you can say stock up. From jaw-dropping weather catastrophes ravaging farmland to behind-the-scenes corporate maneuvers hoarding vital resources, what's on the horizon isn't just another seasonal inconvenience, it's an all-out showdown between skyrocketing demand and a vulnerable supply chain teetering on collapse. And the mainstream media? They're too busy sugarcoating to warn you how bad it could really get. We're talking about cornerstones of your daily diet, the staples you believe are always guaranteed at your local store. Now hanging by a thread as shipping nightmares, extreme climate swings, and cutthroat market speculation converge in real time. Still think you'll breeze through next month's grocery run without a hitch? Stick around, because we're naming names and shining a spotlight on these 10 essentials that might be on the brink of disappearing from your cart. Number 10. Canned fruits. Industry insiders quietly acknowledge that canned fruits, long viewed as a reliable pantry backup, might be edging towards scarcity in multiple regions. Floods and heat waves have hammered major fruit-producing areas, leading orchard owners to abandon whole sections of land when weather extremes make harvesting impractical. On top of that, the rising cost of tin plate and aluminum for cans means manufacturers struggle to keep production lines running without passing higher prices on to consumers. According to trade reports, the canning process itself faces bottlenecks. Processing plants run at reduced capacity when labor shortages hit during peak picking seasons, while antiquated machinery sometimes fails right as fruit arrives from the fields. Shipping disruptions compound the problem. Port backlogs force crates of freshly picked peaches or pears to sit in limbo, risking spoilage before canning can even begin. Supermarket chains often keep quiet about these issues, fearing panic purchases that would wipe shelves clean overnight. Meanwhile, smaller brands reliant on tight supply schedules can get pushed out if larger competitors buy up raw fruit in bulk to secure their own lines. Consumer advocacy groups warn that sporadic limits on canned fruit purchases could appear if upcoming harvests disappoint, leaving a once-abundant pantry staple in unexpectedly short supply. Number 9. Seafood. Behind the scenes, major seafood distributors and fishery managers caution that ocean-caught and farm-raised fish stocks are both under strain. Intensified regulation of wild fishing in an attempt to curb overfishing meets the reality of warming waters that drive species away from traditional grounds, making some fish scarcer than consumers realize. Severe storms or hurricanes can also disrupt the entire supply chain, sinking boats, blocking ports, and delaying shipments for days or weeks. Farmed seafood alternatives, such as salmon and tilapia, are not immune either. Feed costs have soared alongside global grain prices, and disease outbreaks in high-density ponds can decimate large numbers of fish in one fell swoop. Industry reports show that many processing plants, particularly in Asia, are overwhelmed, facing power outages and insufficient cold storage capacity. Even after fish are packaged and frozen, shipping delays can cause thaw and refreeze cycles that damage quality or force entire shipments to be discarded. Meanwhile, import-dependent regions see price jumps nearly every quarter as fuel costs rise for long-haul refrigerated transport. Retailers, reluctant to spark consumer alarm, rarely mention these issues outright but quietly reduce inventory or swap certain species for cheaper ones. For serious seafood lovers, all signs suggest that future availability could be anything but guaranteed. Number 8. Imported spices. Exotic seasonings like cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, and black pepper don't usually top the list of perceived food risks, yet their global supply chains are riddled with hidden stress points. Many come from tropical zones in India, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, or Madagascar. Regions prone to extreme weather patterns that can wipe out entire harvests in a single season. Political disruptions and unpredictable trade policies in these producing countries further complicate matters, slowing exports and generating fluctuating prices that can spike at a moment's notice. Shipping constraints exacerbate the tension. When ports are clogged and containers are scarce, low-volume but high-value spices sometimes get sidelined for more bulky, profitable cargo. Meanwhile, unscrupulous players exploit supply gaps by blending cheaper fillers with genuine spices, creating a wave of adulterated products that slip into the marketplace. Specialty restaurants and gourmet shops bear the brunt first, as they rely on large, consistent orders of quality spices to maintain signature flavors. By the time standard grocery stores see empty shelves or sudden price hikes, the shortage is already well underway. Major spice importers rarely broadcast these vulnerabilities to avoid panic buying, but subtle shifts in global weather events and shipping costs can quickly turn your favorite spice into a luxury item. Number 7. Coffee beans. Coffee lovers might be in for a rude awakening if current indicators hold true. In coffee-rich regions of Latin America and Africa, farmers battle pests like the coffee berry borer and fungal diseases exacerbated by changing rainfall patterns and unpredictable temperature swings. Brazil, a pivotal coffee titan, has seen unexpected frosts knock out budding coffee plants, while severe droughts in other areas lower yields and degrade bean quality. By the time these beans head to global markets, shipping constraints can add weeks or months to delivery schedules, forcing roasters to scramble. Commodity traders often snatch up large lots when they detect a looming shortfall, inadvertently starving smaller distributors that can't compete on price. As costs rise, some roasters downgrade bean quality or experiment with different blends to stay afloat, leading regular customers to notice subtle flavor changes in their morning cup. Meanwhile, coffee shops might quietly raise prices to offset higher wholesale rates, hoping customers won't balk at the difference. Freeze-dried instant coffee isn't immune either, as it depends on the same bean supply. Government agencies usually downplay these challenges, focusing on short-term relief or promising new cultivation techniques. But a series of misfires, bad weather here, shipping delays there, can suddenly bring this beloved beverage to a grind. Number 6. Canned vegetables. Canned vegetables like peas, corn, and green beans have long been an affordable fallback when fresh produce is out of season. But supply chain specialists report that this pillar of convenience is more precarious than casual observers suspect. Climate extremes, overly hot summers, or unexpected floods have shrunk crop yields for many vegetables intended for canning, forcing facilities to run below full capacity. Compounding the issue, the materials needed to produce cans, primarily tin plate and aluminum, face their own price spikes and import bottlenecks. Some factories operate with older equipment that breaks down more often, further limiting the volume they can process when harvest surges arrive. Labor shortages also play a big role. Canneries often rely on seasonal workers, and even a slight dip in staffing can stall operations for weeks. Once finished products are ready, they might languish at shipping docks if containers aren't available or if freight costs become prohibitive. Because major retailers typically prioritize popular staples, less common vegetable varieties get sidelined, leaving them even more prone to shortages. A sudden rumor of a production snag can trigger a wave of panic buying, clearing shelves almost overnight. For shoppers relying on canned veggies as a safety net, the cracks in this supply chain are becoming impossible to ignore. Number 5. Rice supplies. Rice, the backbone of countless cuisines, is far from guaranteed these days. Growers in Southeast Asia note that increasingly erratic monsoons can lead to either parched fields or swampy paddies, both of which reduce yield and quality. Coastal areas battle creeping saltwater intrusion, rendering once fertile rice land too brackish for young plants. Government policies in major exporting countries can pivot abruptly. One day they might allow open exports. The next, they impose tight quotas to stabilize domestic markets, leaving global buyers scrambling. Even rumors of such changes can ignite speculative trading that sends prices soaring for import-dependent nations in the Middle East or sub-Saharan Africa. Add in container shortages and skyrocketing fuel costs, and you've got a recipe for shipping disruptions that can leave warehouses understocked. Farmers sometimes switch to more lucrative crops, like fruit or rubber, because growing rice has razor-thin margins and demands intense labor. Meanwhile, social media buzz about potential shortages can spark a surge in consumer stockpiling, emptying local store shelves in days. Although government agencies often promise there's enough to go around, that guarantee can vanish the moment a single bad harvest or logistical snarl hits. For a staple so fundamental, rice now stands on increasingly shaky ground. Number 4, meat products. From beefsteaks to poultry thighs, meat products sit at the heart of numerous diets, yet the steady flow of these proteins is anything but assured. Ranchers wrestle with skyrocketing feed prices when drought decimates corn and soybean harvests. With water shortages gripping parts of the American West and Australia, entire herds may be sold off prematurely, causing a deceptive glut one season and severe scarcity the next. Poultry farmers grapple with avian influenza outbreaks that prompt mass culling, crippling supply lines for chicken and turkey. Pork faces threats like African swine fever, which has ravaged operations across Asia and parts of Europe, pushing many small producers to close shop. Even large-scale meatpacking plants can become choke points, shutting down for labor strikes or failing to keep pace with new safety regulations. Transporting frozen or refrigerated meat remains a logistical nightmare when shipping container availability plummets and fuel costs spike. Fast food giants might quietly corner the market on supply contracts, leaving supermarket chains to compete for scraps, literally. Shoppers, meanwhile, see suspiciously empty coolers or sudden price hikes that hit the wallet hard. While official sources claim the meat pipeline is stable, the mounting evidence suggests that fulfilling mass demand for beef, chicken, and pork is getting riskier by the day. Number 3, dairy products. Milk, cheese, and butter appear reliably in fridge sections, but industry veterans whisper that dairy pipelines are cracking under pressure. Drought and floods in key pasturing regions shrink the grass supply, raising feed costs and hurting milk yields. Smaller dairy farms, weighed down by ballooning electric bills, veterinary costs, and equipment maintenance, often fold or reduce herds, making the market more vulnerable to disruptions. Cooperatives in parts of northern Europe report that labor shortages at milking stations and cheese production facilities lead to bottlenecks, while in North America, many trucks used for cold chain transport sit idle due to driver scarcity or breakdowns. Compounding matters, certain large buyers like pizza chains or coffee shops lock in advanced contracts, sometimes leaving local stores to grapple with smaller allocations at higher rates. When supply dips below critical thresholds, a single plant closure or delayed shipment can create instant ripples in consumer pricing. Powdered milk reserves do exist, but they don't replicate fresh dairy's flavor or functionality for most household uses. Meanwhile, alternative milks, oat, almond, or soy, face their own production and shipping woes. Government officials typically downplay any signs of trouble, yet behind closed doors, many dairy processors brace for the day when even a minor glitch pushes everyday dairy products out of reach. Number 2, cooking oil. Cooking oils, whether from soybeans, sunflower seeds, canola, or palm fruits, lie at the core of countless recipes, yet global supplies have grown worryingly volatile. Flooding in Malaysia and Indonesia, primary palm oil producers can wipe out entire plantations and stall harvest schedules for weeks. Deforestation constraints, though environmentally vital, limit the expansion of new oil palm plots, increasing friction between conservation goals and market demand. Across South America, particularly in Brazil and Argentina, farmers of soy-based oil face punishing droughts or erratic rainfall, while shipping snafus in the Black Sea region hamper sunflower oil flow from Eastern Europe. Spiking fuel costs add an extra layer of complication. The more expensive it is to run tractors or trucks, the pricier every bottle becomes on the grocery shelf. Meanwhile, canola growers in Canada deal with bouts of extreme weather, ranging from scorching summer heat to late spring frosts. Labor strikes at critical processing facilities can abruptly halt production, leaving an entire region's supply in limbo. Big corporate buyers try to lock in futures contracts to shield themselves from sudden swings, but smaller shops or artisanal producers aren't so lucky. As official spokespeople gloss over the mounting challenges, astute consumers spot rising price tags and the looming specter of bare shelves. Number 1, wheat flour. Wheat flour sits at the core of breads, pastas, and cereals worldwide, yet the pipeline feeding that vital staple grows increasingly precarious. Conflict in Eastern Europe disrupts planting cycles and export routes in countries where fields were once critical to global wheat trade. In North America, droughts scorch farmland across the Midwest, while the Canadian prairies see irregular rains that undermine harvest predictions. Even Australia, long considered a reliable breadbasket, encounters flooding in certain areas that washes out newly planted wheat. Fertilizer and diesel costs have soared, leaving smaller operations teetering on the edge of bankruptcy just when their wheat is most needed. Milling facilities, facing worker shortages or outdated equipment, can't always process grain quickly, leading to a paradoxical crunch even when the raw supply exists. Meanwhile, shipping ports across multiple continents struggle with capacity issues, container scarcities, and unpredictable fuel expenses. Some grocery chains have already flirted with purchase limits during peak demand, recalling the sporadic flour shortages seen early in global crises. Big commercial bakeries sign exclusive contracts to lock down their wheat supply, inadvertently edging out smaller producers and artisanal bakers. Quietly, experts warn that unless favorable weather and stable logistics align soon, wheat flour's position on store shelves could become tenuous at best. Thank you for watching.